Do you know what the top 5 things every couple needs to talk about? They need to communicate about to make sure their relationship is working and is going to continue to work. If you don't, check out this video. Let's go through the 5 things you need to communicate about. And let me just warn you, they're not what you think they are. Check it out. Hi, I'm Brett, your favorite shrink. And welcome back to my 5 minds. Today, we're going to talk about relationships. We're going to talk about how to better your relationship and make sure that you're talking about the things that you guys need to be talking about to really maximize your relationship, to have the best relationship you possibly can. Today, I want to talk about Harry and Sally. Yes, I know that's the standard kind of names I use sometimes with couples, but Harry and Sally came in for premarital counseling, and they wanted to make sure that they were talking about the issues they needed to talk about before they got married, which makes a ton of sense, and I would totally agree with. Every couple should do that. So Harry and Sally come down, and they want to talk about these core issues. Now, most people think that the core things that you need to be talking about to create intimacy, to make sure your relationship is working, are things like money, parenting, values, communication styles. They need to talk about these kind of basic agreements so they can be on the same page, as it were. And I say yes. And I say no. I agree that some basic issues need to be discussed. But the devil's always in the details. And I'd also say that there's other issues out there that are almost more important to really create the intimacy and relationship that you need. And so let's first kind of talk about these issues that everybody first thinks about, and then we'll talk about the deeper ones. So Harry and Sally sit down and they say, well, let's kind of find agreement on what are our values to make sure that we're prioritizing the same kind of things and that we're seeing things in the same kind of way. They talk about communication, and they both agree. Yeah, communication is a super important part of the relationship. And they both agree that they want to make sure that communicating is a core value that they have in their relationship. Win-win, right? They're both on the same page. They're both feeling and believing the same thing. The devil, however, is in the details. Let me tell you what I mean. You can have a conversation with your spouse and honestly believe that communication is your shared core value. But then the conversation kind of goes sideways. One person begins to yell. Let's say it's Harry. Harry's yelling. He's angry, he's frustrated, he's irritated, and he's committed to communicating. So he's telling Sally, this is what he's angry about. Well, Sally values communication, but she also values herself, her self-worth, her self-esteem, and she doesn't really see yelling as a form of communication. She sees yelling as hurtful, abusive. So Harry starts yelling. Sally's like, no, I don't think I'm going to stick around. And she says, let's have this conversation later. And then Harry freaks out even more. What do you mean have this conversation later? You said you were committed to communicating, and now you're leaving? This is a betrayal. And everything falls apart. What I find is that when couples fight, they're fighting about the 10%, not the 90%. 90% of the time, they agree. They agree about parenting. They both want their children to be happy. They both want their children to be successful. They want their children to feel loved. And they agree on all that. It's the 10%. It's the how. That's where they're going to get in trouble. And so talking about the details of how that's going to look is where you're going to get some traction. But it's also hard because you sometimes don't know. You sometimes don't know how it's going to play down until it plays out. So I think a better 5 things that you guys need to communicate is going to really work in terms of a long term. It's not a one-time conversation. It's not a let's sit down like Harry and Sally and talk about these values in the beginning of a relationship and then come to agreement. Yeah, that's our values. Because it doesn't work that way. But let's talk about what are 5 things we need to talk about throughout the relationship for the rest of the relationship. And in that, we're going to be able to work out some of these other details. So what are some of the 5 things? One of them is hurt. You need to be committed to talking about your hurt. And again, that takes a special kind of communication because we really need to learn to talk about what's wrong. I'm hurt. I'm sad. I'm disappointed. I'm frustrated. And not talk about who's wrong. You hurt me. You did this, you did that, you're bad, you shouldn't do these things, you should stop doing those things, you start doing these things. When we do the good guys and bad guys, when we play the blame game, when we start talking about who's wrong, not what's wrong, we're going to get sideways. So one of the things we got to commit to is talking about what's wrong. I'm hurt. I'm sad. And I don't think that should be a one-time conversation. I think that needs to be a lifetime conversation. And I talked a little bit in subsequent videos about marriage vows. Check that one out. Marriage vows is some structure for speakers on how to talk about these things without getting sideways in the blame game. Another thing I want people to talk about is fears. It's not happening now. It's not, you've hurt my feelings and you've done X, Y, Z, or this has happened or whatever's going on. It's what I worry about. It's what I fear happening. My anxieties, my concerns. The doors need to be always open in a relationship to be able to talk about your hurts, your concerns. Love. What are the times you feel loved? We need to talk about positives. We need to talk about when we're feeling connected. Hey, the other day when you did blah, 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 that really made me feel loved. And I appreciate that. That's the third thing we need to talk about is love, positive things. Dreams. We talked about fears. We need to also talk about dreams. What are your hopes? What are you looking forward to? What do you want to see happen today, next week, next month? Sitting down as a couple and talking about, hey, this weekend, I think it'd be awesome if we spent some time connecting. I'd really appreciate that. I'd really want that. That should be part of your regular 5 things that you're communicating about. Now the 5th, the last thing that you guys should be communicating about is you. Who you are. Outside and independent of the relationship. Talking about the relationship is really good. How we've been hurt. What are our fears? What do we love? What do we want? Those 4 things are great. But we also need to talk about ourselves. Hey, I'm scared, I'm hurt, I'm disappointed. Not with you, with life. Where I am as a person. That needs to be a part of our communication. And those 5 things are the things that you need to be communicating about at least once a week, if not every day. So if you don't have a date night, make one. If you don't have a check-in time every day, make one. So you can begin to talk about these 5 things. They're going to keep your relationship connected. And in these 5 things, you're going to be able to talk about the things that aren't going well and talk about the things that you want to go better and how to make them better. Thank you so much for watching. Again, if you like the video, please like the video and subscribe. Be a part of this channel. Learn more about you and your relationships. I also would love to ask for you to make some comments. Put some remarks in the comment section about what you need. What do you want to hear more about? How can I help you grow? Again, I'm Brett, your favorite shrink, and you are watching my 5 Minds. I'll talk to you soon.